Welcome back to Contemporary Black Voices. The question of the day is Donald Trump good for Black Americans? But before we get started, I'm going to ask Fred to do your thing and make that special recognition to you know who.
Oh, yes. To the dictator?
Yes.
Oh, okay. We always have to acknowledge our leader, our producer, and the one who makes this all happen, Carl Booker. And we'll never get him on camera, but he will do a fantastic job. No matter what Carl does, it is good, almost genius-like work. And so again, we, Contemporary Black Voices, want to acknowledge Carl for what he makes happen, not only for this city, but all over the country.
Yes, yes, yes. So going back, I guess I want to start off with you, Chris, about is Donald Trump good for Black Americans?
And as I said in the other statement, no, he's not good, and nor is the Republican Party good. I don't really see the advantages that's been talked about. You talked about people maybe making more money with him. They made more money because they were in that category to have their taxes lowered, and that's what made them rich. Everything else that happened before during Obama, and not necessarily what happened during Trump. I don't know of anything that I can point to, those opportunity zones. Please talk to me about Obama. He had empowerment zones or whatever they had or something like that. So, did Trump just come and change the name or what? I don't know. But my point is I don't know anything that this guy has done. And there are a lot of you out there who feel that he's done a lot, especially Barack Obama's brother, who is now supporting Donald Trump. Please explain to me why that is.
He's got a payday, obviously. He probably got a payday. But let me just say.
I might vote for him if he pays me.
Oh, I know you will. I know you will. You are sure enough capitalist all the way. You are capitalist all the way.
If he pays me, right on.
You just tainted our show. Why'd you have to do that? I was going to say, you can't. In terms of race, you can't blame him for being an opportunist. Barack Obama was an opportunist. George Bush was an opportunist. Everyone running for presidency is an opportunist. They are. And
what would it look like for a president who runs who's not an opportunist?
He wouldn't win.
No, I'm just saying, what would be the characteristics of that person?
Someone who's not an opportunist.
Okay, what would that be?
Someone who really looks at this country and see the needs of it. Not just the rich, not just the middle class, but everybody. Looks at the people and say, what positions should I take to improve the lowest on the totem pole in this country?
And what makes you say that those people that you mentioned are opportunists versus what you just described?
Because they don't look at those people, not even Barack Obama.
Okay.
They look at how they can get elected. When I used to teach the government class, I always tell my students, money is the cancer of this democracy. And I think we're seeing it happen because you can't win unless you get a lot of money. That was true of Obama. Obama played us, came out as, we believed he was a black man and he was going to do all these great things. And I don't, Obama lives in a mansion on Martha's Vineyard now. That's where he is. So that tells you who he played to. Okay? So you can't become president of this country without playing to that crowd, to that group. Because you need to.
He went to someplace cold, so I don't know if he's that smart.
Oh, yeah.
When you were talking about, Chris, about what has Trump done, if you put your history caps on and start thinking about it, under President Johnson, we already know the day is the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington. But we've seen under President Johnson, the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act were both signed. Then I forgot which president it was. It must have been Franklin Delano Roosevelt, where he signed acts to really get this country turned around after a tremendous World War One and Two,
No, World War One.
World War
And
One,
then the Depression.
and then the Depression.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He came up with a lot of social programs which changed this country. A lot of people don't realize this. This is not a capitalist country. It's a mixed economy because you have capitalism and you have socialism, like Social Security or welfare. All these things come under Roosevelt. But what Johnson did was a war on poverty. He's the only president that has tried to reach out and touch the poorest in our society through these programs. And they were working until he got all caught up in the Vietnam War.
And then if you start thinking about Obama, Affordable Health Care Act. So when you start thinking about those types of movements made by both Republican and Democratic presidents, I really can't really say for sure what is something that had a tremendous impact on the Black community other than this criminal justice reform, I guess, act that was signed. But even members of his own administration were trying to recover some of those inmates who got freed and bring them back to jail.
They are? Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there was problems when there was no full commitment to that, but what has he done?
When you look at Trump, to me, everything he's done has been, or let's say, if there's anything that happened for us as Black folks, it's because of an ancillary, something that happened that caused that. I'm going to give Barack Obama a break because when he came into office after George Bush, there were a number of things that this country was struggling with, and he had several balls in the air that he had to juggle. So it was more important, in my opinion, for him to stabilize America than it was necessarily to do anything for Black folks, because Black folks would not be any place, okay, if there ain't no America.
The illustrious, distinguished scholar, Cornel West, would disagree with you.
Okay, that's good. He can do that.
No, I mean, I agree with Chris. I mean, you know what? A lot of folks forget how dire a situation this country was in. We were shedding hundreds of thousands of jobs a month. Ford was the only one that was okay, but GM, Chrysler, all the airlines, the railroads, the banks, the insurance companies, every single major corporation out there was facing collapse. And so this man came in and not just saved the U.S. economy.
Now, which man
but
you talking about?
Barack. So Barack came in and not only saved the U.S. economy, but the global economy. If the U.S. financial system would have collapsed, that's it. It's all over for the global economy. We probably would just now be recovering from something like that. And so I have to. I mean, you have to understand the depths of the situation that Barack had to deal with before he can even start growth and job creation, stabilizing those hundreds of thousands of job losses. And so, with that being said, I'm not a Trump fan. But I have to tell the truth. I have to, his Justice Reform Act was huge. He corrected what Clinton did. What Clinton did devastated Black folks in this country
With the criminal,
with his criminal justice act. And so, but Trump and so they after that they kind of tinkered with it. We advocated for them to change the sentence and disparity, right? So we wanted them to change it was 100-to-1 ratio between crack cocaine, which was predominantly in the Black community, and powder cocaine, which is in the white community. So what they did was they just raised the criminal offense for the powder cocaine. Yeah, and so it didn't provide any relief for Black folks that got caught up in that war on drugs. And so then you had they lowered it to 50-to-1 ratio. Then they lowered it to a 30-to-1 ratio. Trump he came in Of course, he had the ability because no one could challenge him from the right. No one could say that he was soft on crime. All of his rhetoric about the border and about bringing drugs over. So, I mean, he was shielded from that attack from the right. So he was able politically to get this done and to sign that act, which kicked thousands and thousands and thousands of black folks out, and which also not only kicked those thousands and thousands of people out, but made sure tens of thousands didn't get caught up in those massive sentences that they were handing out to black folks. And so I have to give him that credit.
Okay, then we need to do the Ben Franklin scale. You know what that is? You put the good, the bad, and whichever one wins out is the way you conclude this question. Is Trump good for black people?
But you know, when you start thinking about the residual effects of Trump, things that we're feeling today, when he signed that tax bill that gave gave the rich benefits to no end, we are still feeling it today. We're still feeling it today. Although this was probably something that has been worked on for years, but when we lost the affirmative action and now diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, that's a residual effect of Trump and the fact that he was able to put in people into various positions to help ensure that those decisions were honored. And what I mean by that is he placed a lot of federal judges on the panels to where they've got lifetime commitments. And of course, his 3 choices for the Supreme Court. So I do not believe that Trump is good for this country. I think that as a Black American, we need to be prepared that we're going to catch absolute hell if he gets released from these indictment charges. He's already lashing out at the Black justices and the 2 DAs who are Black. And so I think that as we're going to be caught in on it's in the catch-22 where Black Americans as a whole might face a lot of anguish behind his getting his number, P11 something, whatever his ID is. But I think that we're going to, because we're kind of like low people on the totem pole, I think we need to be prepared that we're going to get that Trump effect put on us as well.
Yeah, and I think not only is he not good for Black America, he's not good for America.
And I agree with that.
I think all these people out here are supporting him. You better take a look at what you're doing, because if that man ever gets reelected, it'll take a miracle to get him out of that office.
He ain't leaving. He ain't leaving standing up.
No, he ain't leaving standing
He's
up.
not leaving again. He's going to make sure he doesn't have to leave again. And I don't understand how Republican voters can look at this man and claim to be patriots and then want to reinstall him in office. I don't think they understand the way the world's looking at America. You guys staged a coup d'etat, and now 67 million of you want to put a dictator in office, and so you've definitely lost your moral your moral ability to point to other countries and say, hey, you've staged a coup d'etat, because 67 million of you are trying to reinstall a dictator who staged a coup d'etat. And so with that, I know we're running out of time.
Yeah, with that being said, we want to thank you for sitting with us today on today's issue of, is Trump good for Black Americans? And with that being said, adios.
We'll be right back with Hot Topics.